The idea that you went through the channels and that you came into the country as a legal entrant into the country. So I've come up with a word that I use on my radio show because illegal immigrant doesn't really fit. Migrant worker is a different thing. There is such a thing as a migrant worker, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about gate crashers. And that's what I call them. We're talking about people who don't respect our laws and by virtue of merely being in the United States are illegal because of how they got to the United States. But we have so many people and so many organizations that are forming this movement, and I was talking to my good friend out in California, Frank George, not too long ago. Frank is a legal immigrant who is at the very forefront of this. He's with Latino Citizens for Immigration Reform. And there are a lot of people with Hispanic last name that are a part of our movement because they came to the United States legally and they consider themselves Americans. And Frank said, Lynn, he said, we've got about 5 years to make this happen. We've got about 5 years before the scales are tipped so far toward open borders. North American Union, the Amero, and the other things that are all entwined with this, the Trans-Texas Corridor and all that kind of stuff. We got to do it now. We have a movement, but the movement has to grow. What do we got here? A couple of thousand people, maybe 200 people. It's not a huge crowd. We're adamant about what we believe, and we're determined to make it happen. We need 500,000 people to show up for these rallies, and we've got to make that happen between now and 2008, because if we don't win in 2008, we don't win. If you want these people behind here protesting to be running this country and hoisting the Mexican flag on top of this building behind me and a similar one in Washington, then all we have to do is sit at home and do nothing. And it will happen.